It's the late night show. Info Spot 411 YouTube channel. This is it. September 5th, 2020. Man, summer just about gone. It is flying by. Okay, first I have in my description the topics and my show tonight, but let me go over it here real quick. Interesting news story. Jeopardy, the famous game show, will return with some social distancing guidelines set up. Life Anaya, thank you. Oh, thank you. I'll out your shout out video. I saw you on the Ange TV show live. I was there for about 45 minutes, an hour. And then I had to do a few things and get ready for my broadcast tonight. But I will definitely check your shout out video. Thank you so much. Who is it? Oh, Jade Pot TV. Thank you. Oh, OBRA. Yes, from the Philippines. Yes, good friend of mine does the vlogs and he's into the arts. He does some great art videos. Yes. Yep. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. I'm just going to go over my topics and stuff tonight here. I'm going to talk the news story here. I got hot off the press. Jeopardy will return for another season. Pretty interesting. Alex Trebek, he's doing well from his cancer, and they're going to set up some new stuff for the social distancing. Next up, this is from TMZ. Naomi Campbell, the famous model, she's being sued big time by a Russian billionaire that she married. Right here, I got the picture too of the couple and what's the scoop on that. Where else? Oh, this one is pretty interesting. This is from some website, The Smoking Gun. A man gets arrested, I have this in my description, for calling 911 over 1,000 times in a 6-week period. I'm surprised it took the police that long to arrest him. Some guy is Vietnamese and he lives, I think it was near Memphis, but I'll go over the story here. This is a picture of his booking photo. Anyways, there's some misdemeanor charge, misuse of emergency, what do they call it? The emergency phone line system. But anyway, I tell you, there's some bizarre people out there, but calling 911. I'll get into it. You got to hear this story. This was interesting. As I was, looking for some stories, news topics, and interesting stuff. Iranian women go online to break silence of years of sexual abuse. This is from France 24. They're a major news, mainstream media news outlet over in France. It's a picture of one of the ladies there. They're breaking their silence about the sexual abuse over in Iran. So I'll get into that. Read this. Interesting. And we're not far off from September 11th. So I was going to do my last topic, last discussion before we get into general talk. Remembering September 11th, 2001. I'm going to talk about where I was, what I was doing, what I experienced. Now, I wasn't in New York City. I live in Detroit, but I'll still talk about my own personal experience with September 11th. As well as, OBRA, thank you. My friend from the Philippines, thank you for coming so much. So my last topic will be remembering September 11th, 2001. And I'm going to talk about where I was, what happened to me, my experience on September 11th, 2001. And, J-Pot TV is your son. Okay, cool. All right. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, I'm always asking him questions. I know he's not much into sports, more into reading books, and that's cool, man. That's awesome. So anyway, real quick, as well as my own experience on September 11th, 2001, I'm going to talk about some of my own experiences in the weeks and months to follow after September 11th, 2001. Now, I'm not going to get into too much of the conspiracies and issues I have with the 9/11 Commission report, but this is more about our remembrance, and I'd love to hear from you guys as well on that. And we'll go with the flow, general conversation too, and topic, on other, once we do the topics, general conversation. And if there's something you want to talk about, whatever, I have my eyes glued to the chat as well. And thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to try to get up early for, OBRA for your chat. Not your chat. I'm sorry. For your live broadcast, because it usually comes on around my time, like 5 or 6 a.m. I'm in the Eastern Standard Time Zone here in America. It's a 12-hour difference. Anyway, let me see who we got here. Okay. All right. Oh, I got somebody else in here. Oh, VRGL. Oh, automotive. Oh, Virgo Automotive. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I watch your videos, by the way, because I am in the automobiles quite a bit. I have a Mercury Grand Marquis, same as the Crown Victoria, the body on frame. So, yep. And we'll network with each other. If you see someone in here that you're not part of their channel, genuine networking, I'll mention this one more time. I've said it a million times in my live, is go to someone else's channel, watch one of their videos in full, a full watch. So if they got a 12-minute video, watch the full thing, let it run, give it a like, and leave a nice comment and subscribe, because that's what you want them to do, you know. Any rate, let me get rolling here. I got some interesting stuff to talk about tonight. I would have had some more topics to talk about. However, this afternoon, you might have noticed on my channel, I was filming a video earlier today, and I posted it today, grilling spare ribs. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. I show you my way of grilling spare ribs. I think you'll like it. Yep. You know what? Let me do this before I get into topics. For you, what I got? Oh, a couple people in the chat. Let me do some link drops here. I'm going to put your guys' links in the chat so you can, network with each other. So give me 1 second and we'll get rolling with the topics on the show tonight. I hope everybody is enjoying their Labor Day weekend here in America. Monday is a big holiday for us, OBRA. Everybody, pretty much everyone gets the day off on Monday. It's Labor Day to acknowledge the labor everybody does. So it's a big holiday, and it gives everyone a nice 3-day weekend to end the summer. Okay. Okay, that's Virgo Automotive. OBRA, if you're not connected with them, make sure you network with him. He runs some great lives. He will help build your channel. Terrific friend of mine from the Philippines. And not just, I could care less if he was from Jamaica, the Philippines, or Antarctica. He's just a good guy. A genuine YouTuber. I can't say enough great things about him. And his son as well. Okay. Jade Pot TV, I got you. Here we go. Here we go. And Life Anaya, I haven't forgot about you. I'm going to put you in here too. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to just do a few channel drops and we'll get rolling, everybody. I try to do my part as well. A lot of people do a live and say, oh, go dance with each other, check each other's channel out, blah, blah, blah. But, they don't do nothing. So I like to do my part as well. And I'll get to the chat here in just a second. I'm not ignoring you guys. Just want to do some channel drops. Life Anaya. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. All right. Life Anaya. I got you in here. Yep, here we go. Copy. I saw your shout out video after my live. I will watch it before I go to bed tonight, Life Anaya. All right, here we go. Okay, first up, everybody. Even if you're in the Philippines, I'm sure you've seen this show before and heard of it. They got a lot of the past episodes on YouTube. Jeopardy is a very famous game show here in America, but nationwide. Anyway, Jeopardy will return with new social distancing setup and consulting producer Ken Jennings. Now, Ken Jennings was the biggest contestant winner in the show's history. He's going to be a consultant with Jeopardy the next season coming up. Okay, Jeopardy is returning, and this is from CST Entertainment and Culture website. Yeah, they're part of the Associated Press. All right, Jeopardy is returning for its 37th season with greater social distance between Alex Trebek, that's the host of the game show, and the contestants. A new role for the all-time great contestant, Ken Jennings. A redesigned set for the COVID-19 era will allow contestants to be further apart and greater distance from the host, Alex Trebek. Let me get to the second part of this and we'll talk about it. Alex Trebek said last month he's responding extremely well to treatment for and expects to mark his 2-year survival next February. Now, that is from his pancreatic cancer. Patrick Swayze died from the same cancer here that Alex Trebek has, but knock on wood, Alex Trebek is doing okay, and that's a great thing. The casting of contestants will be done entirely online for the new season, which was shot with studio audience. Oh, I'm sorry, which will be shot without a studio audience. Okay, so all the contestants for this coming up season with this COVID-19 on Jeopardy will all be online as how they audition and try out for the show. And then when the show is shot in the studio, there will be no audience this season coming up because of the COVID-19 concerns. Now, Ken Jennings, the record-setting contestant who won 74 straight shows and took last year's Jeopardy, the greatest of all time title, is joining a series of consulting producers. So Ken Jennings is the all-time record for the most wins on Jeopardy, and he's going to be a consulting producer. Let me get a picture of this. Now, I printed this up at work, so it's in black and white, but I'll point it out with my pen, and I'll angle it so the light doesn't get the light glare. Right over here are the 3 podiums where the contestants will be, and they're going to have them spaced further apart from each other. There's no more where they'll be right next to each other. They're going to be spaced apart from each other. And then Alex Trebek will probably be further back over here. I think what they're going to do is, instead of having them wear their mask and, say things when they respond to the questions, is with this Jeopardy, I think that they'll probably get that like plexiglass and put that up around each podium, and the contestants won't have to have their mask on, and then they'll probably have like a speaker box set up and they could communicate with Alex Trebek, and everybody can have a fun time and enjoy the show. So we are getting back to a little bit of life as normal. So I see this as a good sign. Let me check the chat. Oh, okay. All right, J-Pot. Yeah, he's got some cool automotive videos. I mean, a whole array of crap where, how to change a fuel filter in a 2012 Toyota Corolla to just, all kinds of cool automotive stuff he's got. He's a great mechanic. I've watched some of his stuff. I have. What else we got going next? I'm just checking the chat here. So anyway, wrapping that up before I move on to my next story here, I see it as a really good sign that, some things were getting back to normal. I know Hollywood has basically pretty much been shut down with this COVID-19. It's pretty tough to get all these people together and do these movie shoots. And so that's cool that they're going to bring back Jeopardy, and, they're going to do it in a responsible way so everybody's safe. Oh, that's what the shows are doing in the Philippines. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm sure in the Philippines, Obria, they probably have some of the game shows like we do over here in America as well. Oh, okay. That's where they're put. Okay. Yeah. That's how I think they're going to do it with the Jeopardy. They'll have that plexiglass, plastic glass up where those stands are. I don't see it quite working out too well if they have the mask and have to talk through a mask, so they'll probably put that up, and then, everybody will be safe. So, any rate, let me get on my next story here. This is from TMZ, Tabloid Magazine. It's a television show. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of TMZ because I don't idolize a lot of these celebrities, and they just put a lot of useless garbage on TMZ where they'll show Tom Cruise coming out of some Chinese restaurant with a new girlfriend, or, victory, yay, thank you for coming. TMZ, Tabloid Magazine, the show, it's also they do a TV show for a half hour. Some Harvey guy is the main host on it. But anyway, they'll show some other celebrity. Oh, look at Sandra Bullock. She's got a new motorcycle and she's on it. And we're not sure if this is her boyfriend or just someone who's teaching her how to ride the motorcycle. Any rate, from time to time, there's something interesting that comes from TMZ, and I found this somewhat interesting. I remember this is Naomi Campbell is being sued by her ex-boyfriend, who is a Russian billionaire she was with. And before I read it, Naomi Campbell, she was right there back in the day with like Paula Abdul and Debbie Moore. She was a knock dead gorgeous supermodel. She's still looking really good for her age, don't get me wrong. Anyway, let me get into this. I found it a little bit kind of interesting here. And I got a picture here I'll show you of Naomi here recently. Naomi Campbell sued, cough up my dough and my stuff. Billionaire X strikes back. This is the headline here. I printed it up. Oh, hello. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Yes, hello to you too. Okay, let me read this here real quick from TMZ about Naomi Campbell being sued. Yeah, I got it. If I do StreamYard, I could put in a nice background here. That's something that I haven't forgot about and I'd like to do. All right, anyway, let me read this article here for you guys. Naomi Campbell is being dragged into court by her ex-boyfriend, who has filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit claiming she owes him a lot of dough. According to new legal documents obtained by TMZ, that's Tabloid Magazine, Naomi's ex, a Russian businessman, claims she's refusing to pay back money he loaned her and is still holding on to some valuable property of his. Naomi's refusing to return his personal property, which he values at more than $3 million. Woo! It's not clear yet how much money he claims to have loaned her. The supermodel started dating the Russian billionaire way back in 2008, and they were together for 5 years before breaking in 2013. TMZ reached out to the representatives for Naomi Campbell's side of the story. So far, no word back. Now, and I'll get to the chat. I'm not ignoring you guys. This is a picture from 2012. I'll rotate it because you get a little bit of the glare from the light. But that's Naomi Campbell in 2012. Still looking very beautiful. And this is the Russian billionaire that she was with for 5 years. And he's basically claiming she's got a bunch of his property and also that he loaned her a bunch of money. So he's suing for $3 million and property that hasn't been returned, along with an undisclosed amount of money that he loaned her. So interesting. Let me get to the chat here. Rawl, thank you for coming. B Music Studio, thank you for coming. All right. Shelly, thank you for coming. Anybody any questions or anything they wanted to say about this article here? Naomi Campbell being sued for millions of dollars by her ex-boyfriend, this Russian billionaire. No? Okay. What I'm going to do here before I move on to the next topic, I got a lot of people in here. I am going to start taking your names down. I'm going to put them on this pad right here. Let me bring this a little closer. And I'm going to do a tribute video tomorrow. I'll drop a tribute video tomorrow. For everybody that's on my live here, OBRA, I got you. Okay, who else we got? Let me get my sunglasses off here for a second. I put them on for the bright lights, but B Music Studio. So if you're here, just stick around for a second. I'm taking note I'm going to do a tribute video for everybody that's on my live and help give you guys some exposure. And it's also my way of saying thank you. Life Anaya, I got you. And I will check out your shout out video. Raw, I got you. You're going in the tribute video. Was it Shelly? Let me write this down here. SAGIASUMODLAYON. Jade Pot TV, I got you, my friend. Jade Pot. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, I got you. Yep, I got you. Raw. The Shelly, Jade Pot TV, Life of Naya, B Music Studio, and Obria. I got you. Okay, let me get my glasses back on here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm going to go over a few topics, then we'll get into September 11th, have some general conversation. And a special thank you to my friends from the Philippines, too, for dropping in. All right, here we go. This one I found kind of interesting, to say the least. This is from the Smoking Gun website. They're kind of like they're like one of these obscure news websites. They're not like a main news website like Associated Press or CNN, Fox News, Any rate, let me read this story here for everybody. Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you for being here. You know what? Let me type something in the chat. I'm doing all the talking. For being here. Okay. Yes. All right, let me get into this here. Here's a photo of it. This gentleman is Vietnamese. Now, I don't know if he's, I believe he's a Vietnamese American. He's an American, just, Vietnamese gentleman. Anyway, let me read this article. I don't know. I just shook my head, but anyway, here we go. September 4th, this is the Smoking Gun. A Tennessee man called 911. That's our emergency system. That's for like life or death emergencies, medical, somebody's breaking in your house. There's a fire. That 911. Anyway, most of you all know what 911 is, I'm sure. Anyway, okay, where are we here? He called 911. He called 911 more than 1,100 times over the past 6 weeks. A prolific misuse of the emergency dispatch system that included the suspect asking police operator if they wanted to buy egg rolls, according to a complaint. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. Is it 911 in the Philippines as well? Some countries have a different number, but he's calling 911, asking them if they want to buy some egg rolls. But the more I get into this, it strikes me as mental illness. Anyway, let me finish reading this. It's not too long of an article. Investigators allege that Najin, that's how I'm trying to pronounce his name the best I can. It's Vietnamese. A 54-year-old Memphis resident began dialing 911 from his cell phone in mid-July. By the time of his arrest yesterday, Najin had logged 1,171 calls to the 911 system, though he did not have an emergency. So he called over 1,000 times, and not one of them was an emergency bothering 911. I'll just flip this over. Just a little more of this article. So Nigeen has several prior convictions for misusing the emergency dispatch system and has been branded a habitual 911 abuser by police. Pictured above, Nigeen was arrested yesterday outside a Memphis building that is home to a Vietnamese restaurant and Oriental Best Market. I'm not sure what that is. Might be food or Orient something. His iPhone was seized by police, and he was charged with making non-emergency phone calls to 911. He was released from the Shelby County Jail on his own reconnaissance. That means he just was let go on his own free will, from the jail, and is scheduled for a November 20th, 2020 hearing in the misdemeanor case. So he's been charged with a misdemeanor for abusing the 911 system. But one more time, here's his picture. I'll try to rotate it, so you can see it. There's a little glare of the light, and I'll get to the chat, everybody. I'm not ignoring you. See, there's a few things that come to me is somebody really, really has to have a screw loose up here to be calling an emergency system over 1,100 times in 6 weeks. Holy cats. I'm surprised he wasn't arrested sooner. And what's disturbing is that 911 is for these life or death emergencies, and this guy's calling up asking if he wants to buy egg rolls or that. There's been some YouTube videos that people have posted, like of little kids not knowing any better and calling 911 and asking if the 911 operator could tell them a bedtime story. I kid you not. But those are children 5, 6 years old, but this is some 50-year-old male out of Memphis, Tennessee. So I don't know. The best I when I'm reading this that I could come up with an answer. You ask the why. Why would someone do something stupid as this? Mental illness is the only thing I can think of. I wouldn't even say depression. A lot of people get depressed, but I don't see a depressed person calling 911 over 1,000 times. Oh, okay, nothing in the studio. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. I just hope now that he's out, that he doesn't in a week or two start calling up 911 again for stupid stuff. He's waiting on his court hearing for a misdemeanor charge. Oh, thank you. Mob Can Cook and Blake. I will put you here. I'm going to do a tribute video. Mob Can Cook and Blake. 1 second. Mob Can Cook and Blake. All right. I got you down. I'm going to do a tribute video tomorrow for everybody coming on my live here. It's a holiday weekend. Let's have some fun. Anyway, does anybody have any questions or anything they might want to say about this before I move on? That's from the Smoking Gun website. The guy who got arrested for calling 911 over 1,000 times in 6 weeks. Woo! No? Okay. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. Oh, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. I'll tell you what. I'll give you I put some channel drops in up above. Raw, I got Raw that came in here. Let me get your channel drop, Mob Can Cook and Blake. Hold on here. I'm trying to. We are networking tonight. Yes, we will network with each other. It's someone you don't know. We'll network, and I'll even do my part. I'll do a channel drop here. I'll do some channel drops. Mob Can Cook and Blake. Okay. All right, I got you. All right. Mob Can Cook and Blake. Hold on here. Copy. Let me put you in here. Paste you in. Boom. Okay, there you go. It's Mob Can Cook and Blake. Thank you for coming. Okay, next up. And then I'll get into September 11th, our remembrance here. one more topic, and we'll do September 11th Remembrance, and we'll have some general conversation. This is from France 24. They're a major news media outlet in the country of France. I got this story from. Iranian women go online to break silence over sexual abuse. I printed up the story here from the website. Dozens of Iranian women have taken to social media to share their stories of sexual harassment and rape, breaking years of silence and shedding light on a legal system that is weighted against the victims. I know they're under a really stringent Islamic rule over in Iran, but the younger generation has been pushing for change, and that all came from, I think it was the Ayatollah, if I'm not mistaken, the Ayatollah Khomeini, when he had his revolution and they stormed our American embassy over there, and then everything changed when the Shah left. Oh, thank you for coming. Yep. Like my new video. Yeah, we don't do self-promotion on here. What is it? 78 VEVO with no self-promotion. No self-promotion. We do network, but we don't do self-promotion. Okay, anyway, let me get back to the story. For 14 years, Sarah Omontele, anyway, I'm trying to pronounce the name the best I can, it's Iranian, kept her personal trauma under wraps, unable to speak about the ordeal she suffered in Tehran. That's the capital city over in Iran there, Tehran. In the summer of 2006, the former journalist who now lives in the United States was sexually assaulted while interviewing a prominent artist in the Iranian capital. A week ago, she finally decided to break her silence on Twitter. Amonte, I'll just say Sarah, is among dozens of Iranian women who have recently taken to social media to denounce the sexual harassment and abuse they suffered. Some have used the Me Too hashtag, coined in the wake of Harvey Weinstein scandal. He's the one in prison now that was a big Hollywood, how should I say, producer, promoter. He owned a company there, Harvey Weinstein, but I don't want to get into that whole thing. The fury of accounts on social media has helped to crack a long-standing taboo and raise awareness of rampant sexual abuse, Sarah said in an interview with Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. The absence of a systematic education about sexual issues in Iran, this group movement improves the atmosphere for a public discussion and creates a opportunity for education, she said. The laws of Islamic Republic also act as a deterrent for many victims. It's a very stringent Islamic controlled country over in Iran. And anyway, I'll get into that in a second. I'm almost done here. Iran's vice president for women and family affairs praised women on Friday for speaking out against sexual assault and called on the judiciary to forcefully confront rapists. Now, under a lot of countries that are strict Islamic ruled countries, especially in the Middle East and parts of Africa, women have very, very few rights over there. Especially if a woman is married to a man can just beat the you-know-what out of her. And the way the laws are set up, there is nothing that can be done. Oh, that's your wife? All right, sorry to bother you. Have a great day and keep it moving. I mean, they even got in the country of Yemen, which is just below Saudi Arabia. If a lady is 13 years old, she could be married off to an adult. I kid you not. Yep. They have something similar in India, but it's not at that young age. They call it the dowry system, but I believe there's been change going on with that. So, yeah, the younger, what was interesting with this is, it's just one more example. The younger generation in Iran is wanting more freedom from the strict Islamic rule over in Iran and what's going on there. But who controls the government in Iran? A lot of it is hinged off the Islamic religion and is very stringent on what women can do and what they can't do. Same with Saudi Arabia is very similar. In Saudi Arabia, Mecca is the holy city for the Muslim religion, but they're very stringent on on freedoms for women over in these Middle East and African countries that have strict Islamic control. So anyway, this is interesting. So I'll be curious. I'll keep attention here, if there is any change over in Iran, because what I also look at, will this snowball effect to other countries, like to Yemen? Will this go into Libya, Somalia, a lot of these countries in Africa and the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, as far as women have more rights? Oh, you did? Okay, 13 years in Iran. Okay, so anything that you would like to say or comment or add or questions? I'd be interesting to hear from you about these, how the Iranian women now are breaking their silence. This is the article from France 24, major Associated Press. My father was working there in the British embassy. Oh, okay. And Mom Can Cook and Blake, OBRA, a friend of mine from the Philippines, is at your channel. Please return the favor too, just so you know. But am I correct, Mom Can Cook and Blake, because you were over in Iran for a number of years, that the stringent Islamic rule that has come under the Ayatollah Khomeini when they had their revolution and the Shah was removed, there is some change coming about. I've also read about, they're allowed to watch news channels and stuff from around the world, and they're big into computers over there in Iran. So yeah. But yeah, I found this interesting here. So we'll see what comes. Let me set this over here. Let me get a sip of my juice, and I'll get on to this portion here. I'm going to do a remembrance on the September 11th, 2001. So where am I here? Oh, okay. For September 11th, 2001, there's a number of things on September 11th, 2001. I could do a good 2 to 3 hour broadcast just talking about the conspiracy and questions that I definitely would have with September 11th, 2001. But I want to spend this time more as a remembrance, because we're less than a week away. 19 years ago it happened. Okay, cool. Oh, thank you for coming. Real quick, before I get into September 11th remembrance here, let me put you down. I'm going to do a tribute video. Thank you for coming, Jonathan. JONAT. Okay, I got you. I will be doing a tribute video tomorrow for everybody that comes on my live. Yes. Where am I here? Okay, so anyway, yeah, I decided what I would like to do is more of a remembrance, and share your thoughts too. Now, some of you, Life of Naya, if you're still here with me, you might, I believe you're around, 16, 17, 15 to 17 years old. So you might not know. And J-Pot TV, you might be too young where you weren't, you can't remember that day, or you weren't born on, before September 11th, 2001. But anyway, no problem. I'm going to talk about my own personal experience on September 11th, 2001 and the days afterward, as well as whatever you guys, some of the stuff that Okay. Yep. Some of the stuff that you guys might, your own first personal thoughts and feelings about September 11th. You didn't have to be, I was in my mid 20s on when that happened. But you could still learn a lot. I'm sure you guys have watched several documentaries on this, read books on it, your thoughts. Anyway, let me get a sip of my Snapple here, and we'll get into it. Okay, here we go. My training day, new job. Okay, that's where I'm going to start off this conversation. September 11th, 2001, where I was when this happened. I was just starting a new job, and it was about a couple weeks before. I had everything arranged. My first day of training was September 10th, which I believe was on the Monday, and September 11th, if I'm not mistaken, was on a Tuesday. And I had like 4 or 5 days of training at this training center before I started my new job. So the second day, we started at, I think it was 8:30 a.m. And we went 8:30 to 3:30. And then I think it was 8:30 to 3:30. And we had a half-hour lunch. So I'm in a conference room. Oh gosh, I think with about 6 or 8 other people. There was 4 or 5 of us that were training with the new job, and the trainer was there. And keep in mind, this is 2001. We had the TV set up with one of those VCRs, the video cassette machines, and then they put like videotapes in there. And we'd watch the videotape for 45 minutes or an hour, and then the instructor would sit there and talk. And we had at the end of the day like a little test. So anyway, I think we were doing a video on the first aid and CPR. Was we were doing this Red Cross stuff for the day at the job site. We had to be certified, and I was probably at the table, if I want to say, for about maybe a half hour or 15 minutes, something like that. And all of a sudden, 2 guys come in the room. One guy I knew because he is like the regional manager, and he comes through a lot in this office. Anyway, they come in and they said, "Hey, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. We have to use your TV." Now, that's why I said 2001. The TV had the old antennas that came up, and you could pull in like your local news stations, your ABC, CBS, and Fox. But anyway, so he goes, I have to stop the training a second. We apologize for this inconvenience, but we need to see the TV here. And it happened to be the only TV in there, I guess. So all of a sudden, 2 or 3 more people come in, and from like the human resources department and some of these other executives, and they stop the VCR, and then they switch a couple buttons, and they get on the local ABC news station, which in Detroit is Channel 7. And all of a sudden I see all this smoke coming out of one of the Trade Center buildings. And the smoke is just, I'm using my hand. Let me get my pen. But the smoke is just drifting, up in the air. Now, they came in, and where I started watching this was, I want to say, about like maybe 5-10 minutes after the first plane, maybe 10 minutes after that first plane hit the first Trade Center. I think it was the North Tower that got hit first, and the South Tower. Anyway, so the ABC news station was patched in with some local helicopter showing us, as well as they were getting cameras from all around New York City converging in Manhattan. And literally, I started watching this, and about 5 minutes or 10 minutes after watching this, all of a sudden I hear him say, "Well, there's another plane coming now." And they're like, and then all of a sudden this plane turns so low, and they're like, "Yeah, this don't make sense. This plane's too low." And then another newscaster, I remember saying, "This is not a replay. We're not replaying the plane that hit the first World Trade Center building," because at that time they didn't have the camera footage of it. The only camera footage was some guy on the ground who happened to be filming a documentary about something unrelated. So they say, no, this is not some replay from the plane that hit this building earlier. This plane is flying way too low. Yes, it was a horrific event. Yes, yeah, American history. Very sad. So I'm watching this with my own eyes. Now, real quick, guys, and anyone joining me here, I'm just doing a remembrance on September 11th, and I'm love to hear from you as well. I'm going to talk about my own experience and what happened that day with me in weeks and months after, and then we'll get into the discussion. So I'm just watching this, trying to take this in, and then a few things went through my mind first. Was this some legitimate plane crash that hit this trade center building? Or was this some type of suicidal pilot that ran it in there? Because at this time, I didn't even know it was a commercial airliner. All they said was a plane. They didn't say a commercial plane or no nothing yet. So I'm watching on TV, and I could tell it was one of these big commercial planes they call like the 747 or the other ones. And this thing starts coming in, and I could see it kind of on an angle turning. And all of a sudden, boom, I mean, another explosion, and you could just see that. And then I saw on live, which is in the documentaries, because at this time they started getting people with all kinds of cameras, patching into these two trade centers. And when the second plane hit, I saw that explosion where it came, when the plane hit one side of the trade center building, the second side, that explosion, and all the stuff just boosh. And I'm sure you've seen it, on several documentaries, and it's on YouTube. But the second, I mean, just that large blast of fire just came out that one end of the building. And then they said, oh my God, a second plane just hit the building. I said, holy smokes. So I was in the office, I want to say, for about another 10 minutes. And the phones started ringing, 2 or 3 different phones in the office. This company, it was going nuts, because they're a large corporation and they're getting calls from everywhere. So they finally just said, hey, we're going to end the training today. Just come in tomorrow at 8:30. Go home. Goodbye. Because they just wanted to get rid of us. They had a lot of business going on. So anyway, so I said, oh, okay, cool. So I figured, all right, well, I'm going to leave here, go grab some lunch at Burger King or Taco Bell or something, and go home and go watch CNN or Fox News and wonder what in the hell is going on. And so anyway, I get in my, I had a Ford Explorer at that time. I got in my Ford Explorer, and I'm on my way home. I was about like 20 minutes from this office, and I turn on the radio in my, I'll just say car as a Ford Explorer, but anyway, my vehicle. And I'm listening, all the news, all that, what was so odd. I mean, the vast majority of these FM radio stations play music. They were all talking. Some were patched into NBC News affiliates, some to ABC News affiliates. So anyway, I'm on my way home, leaving this building where I had my training at for my new job. And I want to say about maybe 10 minutes after leaving, I'm listening to the radio, and they're talking about these two trade center buildings hit by planes. And then they're all coming to the same consensus that this is too coincidental. They're ruling out an accident. And all of a sudden they come on the news. They're like, we have more breaking news. A plane just hit the Pentagon. A plane has just hit the Pentagon. So I'm like, oh my Lord. And now the panic really breaks out. America, it's under attack. We got 2 trade center buildings hit. The Pentagon's been hit by a plane. And then they're talking too on the radio about they're waiting to get an order from President Bush, former President George Bush, to shut down all commercial flights after this plane hit the Pentagon. And then I think just as when I get home, they were announcing it that the order came in either through former President Dick Cheney or George Bush, that they shut down all commercial flights to be grounded. And then just as I was getting in, that's when I caught the news. I got in my house. I stopped at, I think, at Burger King or something. I didn't even feel like cooking nothing. And I got some food. And then that's when I heard about fourth plane had crashed in Pennsylvania. It was in Pennsylvania in some farm field. And they did a movie based off this. I think it was called United 93. The trailer's on YouTube where the people in the plane stormed. But I heard this. I said, oh, my Lord. And the second half of the day, I talked to a few close friends of mine. I even had one friend of mine who was in the Army National Guard, and he was waiting to get word on something. Any rate, I just remember I was watching mostly Bill O'Reilly on the Fox News channel and CNN, going from Fox News and CNN, just trying to get as much information as I could on this. I have a few other notes here. Oh, this was the other sad part is I'm watching, I watched Bill O'Reilly later that night. He came on and did like a special 2-hour broadcast, I think it was. But during the day when I got home, gosh, I want to say it was around maybe like 11:30, give or take, or something like that. So I'm watching people come out of this building, out of the Trade Center building, as I'm watching this on ABC News and CNN, one of them channels. And they're coming out running. I'm seeing people that got all the stuff all over them. It's like dust or dirt, and then what the human compassion. One lady came out, her face was just covered with this soot. And one guy happened to have a bottle of water and just tipped it upside down and just, held her and, washed off her face, and people getting out of there and helping each other. And then some of the sadness, now this is when the sadness to me really, really hit home, is when I came in and I'm seeing the smoke come out, and they're talking like they could put this out, no problem. They got these firefighters coming in the building. And they're like, well, the firefighters are starting to make entry into the building. They're going to get the hoses hooked up and get people out who they can, but we don't know what they're going to do for the people on the upper floors. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 the first Trade Center building came down, and it was basically an implosion, but the dust is, you've probably seen all the stuff is coming out of that first Trade Center building. And when that first building came down, it looked like a freaking hurricane or a tornado. All the debris and dust, as you've probably seen, is I'm watching, live on TV, and I'm lost for words. It's coming down those streets, and I see people running in these stores. I see them running in anything, and then some people just trying to help each other out. And man, that came down, and I was like, holy cats, the whole freaking building just came down. And then let alone all the people that died in those streets near it, and some of these people that are just trying to get out of there. And then sure enough, I think it was like about 20 minutes later or something like that, I watched the second building, come down. And that was just heartbreaking. And then the other thing too, I remember shortly before those buildings came down, they didn't show it live on TV, but they talked about it. Is now the part they showed were people outside the windows with their arms, and they were taking like pieces of paper and stuff like this, like help, 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 come get me, I'm on the 60th floor, and they're waving that stuff out, and you see them. And then they break away with the camera, and they say, we got people jumping out of the windows, and then they said, well, what do you want to do? Burn to death, or you just jump and knowing you're dying? And then they have that infamous photo where the lady and the gentleman, the guy, they were holding hands as they jumped out the window together, and boom, hit the cement and died, because they estimated by the time they get to the ground, they're free falling at about 500 miles per hour. It was just sad. Now, I didn't see the actual people falling to their deaths and that until I saw a couple documentaries years later. But I did see them, and it was just so heartbreaking. All these people outside the windows with their hands and taking stuff like this piece of paper and waving it. And I remember that shortly before those towers fell. watching. It was just heartbreaking. What else? The other notes I got in here, the buildings fall. Yeah, I watched. Like I say, I stayed up to about like midnight or 12:30 watching that freaking news, and I got up extra early to catch an hour or so of the news of September 11th before I went back to do the training for my job the next day. I do remember this. There was they showed a news clip of this, and it's in some of the documentaries. There's a young man, like in his early 20s, and Monday night, September 10th, before this September 11th, 2001, the New York Jets, a football team, they had a Monday night football game, and so a guy was down the street, and as they were bringing cameras around, he said this. He said that if it wasn't for him staying, he goes, if it was, and I'll quote it the best I can verbatim. The guy says, as he's talking to other people, he says, if it wasn't for me staying up late last night watching the New York Jets game and oversleeping this morning, he goes, I'd be up in that 50th or 60th floor right now in that Trade Center building. And he's just sitting there, and you can see tears coming down his eyes as he's looking up like this. And then he said, the New York Jets just saved my life. And it was like, wow, some of those things. I still have a few other notes in here. Now this is something good. I hope we come back to this at some point in America, boy. I was 24, 25 at the time, and I never seen something quite like this. The good that came out of this was days after the initial September 11th, like September 12th, the 13th, the 14th, when I'm watching these news clips, people, black, white, Hispanic, you name it, they were coming to volunteer to help from all over the country. And they were so backed up, they had to turn people away. But what a lot of people ended up doing anyway, they lined the streets. And every time a police car went by, an ambulance, a firefighter, they cheered and they clapped. They literally cheered and they were clapping every time these police and fire were coming in. The fire department had their job of working with the volunteers to clean up this debris and try to find survivors. EMS had their job collecting all these dead bodies and taking them to the morgue and getting them identified, as well as the few survivors they were able to get days after that were trapped underneath there. And then, the police have their job keeping that area secure and safe for all these rescue workers. But just seeing these people cheer them, and say, hey, you got what you guys are doing a job and putting your life on the line. And, this is just our way of saying thank you. And another thing I remember too was months after September 11th was seeing people, a couple things. People everywhere were, excuse me, my eyes. People everywhere were wearing New York Police Department hats and New York Fire Department hats, the NYPD and the NYFD. And I'm talking to my own experience here in Detroit, Michigan area. But I mean, there was just that outpouring of support, and that was big. And then the other thing I thought was so cool was businesses, residents. I was in an apartment complex at this. No, I just moved out of an apartment complex. I'm sorry, about a month before this happened. But anyway, apartment complexes, everywhere I went, a lot of places I drove were putting American flags out. And they were on the news like a week later saying all these places are sold out of American flags, and people are calling up all these places to get them. And computers were still in their infancy. Tina. Oh, good night to you. Yep, I'm doing a remembrance here of the September 11th, 2001, my own experience, and we'll talk about it as well. And thank you so much for coming, Tina. I appreciate it. So that was another thing I remember I thought was just so great was everywhere was putting up American flags. I mean, even in like party stores, liquor stores, businesses, if they couldn't get an American flag, they were taking a piece of paper like this, the 8x10 paper, and using a color printer and printing the American flag up on it and taping it up in their window. So yeah, it was in the window. It was such a pride for a country. And here, the diversity in Detroit, where I went to school, Chaldean Arabs, the Koreans who owned the dry cleaners, black-owned businesses in the city of Detroit. I mean, you name it, it was everywhere. You know, is we came together in a sense as Americans in love for our country. Because see, here's the thing. All right, and I got to change these lights. Give me 1 second, everybody. One light here runs on a battery. Okay. Okay, there we are. Sorry about that. I usually get about an hour or so. Now you can probably see the difference in the brightness. Let me sit down here. Oh, so anyway, yeah, the American flags were everywhere. I'm talking businesses to driving through like residential streets and people put them out on the porch. Oh, you were in Jamaica when it happened. Okay. And the people that didn't have flags, that couldn't put them on their porch or anything, they were, and I had one in my house at the time. I took a big 8x10 photo and put it up my main window of the American flag. Because see here, this is the point I want to make. Okay. And we've had this for several years, racial tensions and all that. It pretty much came to a standstill for a short time period, because you see, when those trade centers buildings were hit, these terrorists, they didn't care if you were black, they didn't care if you're Hispanic, they didn't care if you were white, they didn't give a damn if you were Muslim, you were Christian, you were Jewish, you were young, you were old, if there was children in there. The only thing they gave an SHIT about was killing Americans. And as far as they were concerned, if you were in that trade center building, you were an American and you deserved to die. That was their mentality. They were on a suicidal mission to kill Americans, hit that building. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that on 1K. Yeah, my channel, it's been going kind of nuts, my subscriber count. I appreciate that, Tina, very much. Where was I here? Oh, Christina Vlogs. OBRA is a good friend of mine for the Philippines. He does great lives if you want to build your channel up, and then also does art videos as well if you want to network with him. Oh, yeah. So see, that's one thing too I took from this, as well as they didn't care. Same thing when they hit our Pentagon. You know, all they cared about is getting our country. There's a lot with September 11th as far as unanswered questions and things I ask why, and cover-ups in the conspiracy, but I'm going to stay off that tonight. I just want to do a remembrance of my own experience, as well as talk to you guys about this and hear from you as well. What else did I have here? That's pretty much it. Yeah, wearing the hats. I do remember it was heartbreaking too, watching some of this news of September 11th, 2001, when people were putting pictures up on posts and buildings and having these vigils. And I think there was only something like, the survivor count was between 10 and 20 that came out of there, and it was all dead bodies. And some of that took like months and years later to identify. And it just heartbreaking. But that's my own personal experience, where I was and what I experienced, you know, short thereafter of September 11th. I do remember this too. There was an incident where a big panic went out because it was the National Enquirer magazine, and there was another building. Somebody mailed anthrax to them, and there was a big scare of that too. Was the anthrax, and as well as other possible terrorist attacks. And then they grounded all flights, I think, for about 2 days. And then the after result was the TSA got set up there, and I'm not a big fan of the TSA. But anyway, let me check the chat here. But if any of you want to say anything about September 11th, or let me know. Like Tina was in Jamaica when it happened, when 9/11 happened. Some of you may be too young where, if you're in your early 20s, you might have been like 4 or 5 years old when it happens, but I'm sure there's so many documentaries, and some are really good. I mean, not good and it makes you feel good, but they show the actual footage, what happened, and it's like taking a step back in time and saying, hey, I was only a few years old when this happened, but now I see, all what happened and why this day is so significant. Is basically my grandpa on my mom's side. He passed away, I think it was about 8 months after this happened, but he said he told me, he said that this is what you're experienced and you've seen. This is how it was with Pearl Harbor, and he was a World War II vet in the U.S. Navy, but there was pretty much, and then that was something that was related to that one event one day and how horrific and what happened. But see, what was a little different too was the difference in technology. When September 11th happened, we have all the news media outlets and see a lot of this live on TV as it was happening. Yes, they did. Yeah, very strict at the airports. Like I say, Tina, what was it? That all fell under the Homeland Security Act and the /Patriot Act, which former President Bush was able to get signed and done. And I'm not the biggest proponent of the TSA. I understand. See, we had a major problem with security there at the airports. At that time, September 11th, 2001, and before then, the security and screening fell upon the airlines for each terminal, as well as the airports had their airport police and other law enforcement there. But pretty much most of the screening up until that time was done by the airlines. So what did the airlines do? They would go out and get a security company. And what do? They get the cheapest bid they can find, and the security company comes in and they were doing the screening. We've had hijackings before several times out of America as well as other countries, but nothing we experienced like this where they actually would hijack a plane to, just kill people. Usually they want demands and stuff. But at any rate, I understand the need for bringing in that law enforcement, the TSA, and have tougher screening and make it safe for everybody going in there. But I think it's gone way too freaking overboard. I had family members traveling a couple years later, and other people I know that traveled just recently, and it's like, oh, you can't bring that stick of deodorant on. Or you got this, that can only be on as this luggage. You can't have it on a carry-on luggage. And I'm like, oh my Lord. And then it's like, if your flight leaves at 1 p.m., I'm always told, and I haven't flown in God knows how many years, and but you better show up around like 10 a.m. Or so, just because that whole screening process, you can tack on another hour to an hour and a half. And I'm just like, this is just freaking crazy. It's bad enough a lot of times these plane flights get delayed, but just the screening process in certain airports and to get through somewhere, I'm like, oh, I understand on their safety, but I feel it's gone excessively overboard with the TSA in those airports. So anyway, what was it? Oh yeah, there was a story I believe it or not, it was and I one of his books are my favorite books, but you probably have heard of this guy, Jesse Ventura. Used to be a professional wrestler. He was a mayor and former governor of Minnesota. He was going on a flight, and they were doing this screening. And so they had like the metal detector thing, and it went off as he was going through. And the TSA guys, stopping him. He says, "Wait a minute." He says, "I took my belt off, this and that off." He goes, "I have titanium in my knee and my hip. I've had surgery from years of doing wrestling, and that's why this thing's going off." And he started going back and forth with these TSA agents. And he ended up having to get some supervisor or manager. And at first they were like, "Well, if you have titanium or, a pacemaker or anything like that, you got to bring that medical documentation in to present to our TSA workers." And they went back and forth. And I guess he had to be strip searched for them to allow him to go on this plane. And this is shortly after he was governor, when he left office of a governor. He says, "You know how well known I am? I am the governor, former governor of the state of Minnesota. And you're putting me through this like I'm somebody from another country you don't even know." But I'm just using that as one small example of how far overboard the TSA has gone. I understand their need and why the TSA had to be created, but I don't know. My opinion, I think they've gone too freaking far. Then I've even seen some of these news stories of these TSA agents taking people's merchandise, whether it's tablets, iPhones, anything worth money, and stealing this stuff. They've caught some of them. But yeah, let me see. Yeah, those are all my notes here on my 9/11 remembrance. Is there anything you guys want to say? I'll talk a little more about 9/11. Feel free to put it in the chat. I did find it interesting. Wait. Why they didn't detect the plane of the hijacker or terrorist in the first place? Okay, OBRA, that's a great question. That goes back a little bit to what I was talking about. Now, according to the official story, okay, because I don't believe everything here that comes out of that 9/11 commission report. That's a whole nother topic in its own. I'll make this one point about the 9/11 commission report. They did not do one iota of investigation why Building 7 fell. That was another nearby building, the Trade Center, that just imploded and blew up. Any rate, okay, great question. Okay, first off, according to the official story, all right, they used box cutters and they put it to the throat of one of the stewardesses that was working in the plane, and one of the guys barged in the cockpit and with the box cutter. So the other thing now you ask is, well, how the hell did they get through with these metal box cutters? Those are like a knife, when they pick that up scanning. But then again, like I said, 9/11, 2001, and before, the security fell upon the airlines when it came to screening people coming through. What did the airlines do? Again, they hired the cheapest security company that they could get a bid on. So, what happens with that? Well, when somebody's making barely above minimum wage, in general, you're not going to get the best help and the best screening. Law enforcement was not involved in the screening process right at the airport terminal. So all these hijackers got on the plane with these box cutters, and that's how they got in there. There had to be, I'm trying to word this right, there had to be change from how that current system was set up. But where we went with it, with the TSA and our Patriot Act, and it's gone too far. But, it's just my opinion. Was it true that the pilot is a terrorist himself? According to the official story, was It wasn't the pilots. It was some of these guys. They have records that they took flight schools, so they took over the cockpit. I haven't heard of one of the pilots being a terrorist himself, but I do know this. This gets a little bit into conspiracy, but you know, a fact is a fact is a freaking fact. The plane that hit the Pentagon, one of the two terrorists that went to a nearby flight school months before this 9/11 happened, okay, they went to a flight school, but the gentleman, one of the main instructors at this flight school, was interviewed in a documentary I watched, and he says when they took their course, he says they were not qualified at the least to be flying those big 747 commercial planes, and they would not have the skill to take a plane that big and to bring it into the ground like that, right into the Pentagon. He says, now, if they crashed a plane downward and smashed right in the Pentagon, he says, I could see that happening. He says, for someone to take a plane that damn big and come in that low to the Pentagon and crash it in there like that, he said it'd take the skill of a Top Gun pilot or a good 25-year veteran of a commercial airline pilot to do that. And these guys were moderate at best with their flight training that crashed, that supposedly hijacked the cockpit and flew the plane into the Pentagon. There's a lot of other really cover-up stuff with the Pentagon. I mean, if you want me to talk a little bit about that, I will. I want to try to keep your memories. Okay, yeah. Like some other stuff with the Pentagon incident, a lot of people don't know this. One of the first things that happened after the plane hit the Pentagon, the FBI came right in that area and they confiscated camera footage from gas stations, stores, hotels. And then they claimed it was, and I believe it was some CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, sent agents out right away, confiscating all this camera. The only camera footage that we got from the Pentagon was from a gate post. Are you freaking kidding me? I got to get a little emotional and rant on that. I'm getting into some of this conspiracy stuff, but what the hey, we're talking, you know, this is what you want. I'll give it to you. What was I? Anyway, why this is important, okay? One of the hotels, it was a Marriott or a Ramada, they went to court and they sued under the Freedom of Information Act, and there was something else they sued under. And they said, this is our property. You confiscated it because you said we filmed it. This film has a scene of a crime. We have a right to get it back. Guess what? It went through a bunch of different courts up to the federal level. They got their camera footage back. Guess what the camera footage shows? It shows that front lawn of the Pentagon and no plane at all. Just an explosion. Boom. Another thing that came out in another documentary I watched, one of the survivors in that area of the Pentagon from the explosion, she was, I think, a sergeant first class or master sergeant in the U.S. Army. Anyway, she's high up in that non-commissioned officer rank. And she was near the explosion and got out. So there were some people from the military paid her a visit the next day in the hospital or the day after. And they were like, well, who did you speak to so far? Have you spoke to anybody about this? And she's like, I'm just starting to wake up and gain consciousness. You know, the only thing I spoke to is some of the staff about what happened to me when I was in there in the explosion. And they're like, oh, you didn't see a plane hit? She says, no, it was just an explosion that went off. There was no plane whatsoever. When I went out where this hole was, I didn't see any plane debris, no nothing. And I was like one of the first people that come out in that yard before everybody, you know, started showing up. And they said, well, we're going to tell you this right now. Do not share this information of what you saw and what happened to you to anyone, or you'll lose your military pension and we'll give you a dishonorable discharge. They threatened her. It was only years and years later that she came out in a documentary and talked about what happened and gave this information out. But anyway, Um, yeah, either way, I don't believe, I'll just say this, and I've said it several times on my past lives. I don't believe everything is a conspiracy. But on that note, I don't trust my government on everything. I think you'd be foolish. I don't care if you're living in Jamaica or the Philippines, or you're living over in France. I wouldn't trust your government and everything. But I don't believe everything's a freaking conspiracy. But 9/11 and the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy are two definite cover-ups our government had. But that'd probably be another live show I'll do one night, when I could spend 3 or 4 days and just gather up all these. I know a lot of the stuff. I just want to write down the facts and information and have my little cheat sheet, and I'll make it, the conspiracies. But I'm more just wanting to do, the remembrance of September 11th. And I'm curious to hear from you guys, where you were and what you heard, where you were when September 11th, 2001, happened, or any thoughts you might have on it, good, bad, or indifferent. I know the hijackers that have been identified, somewhere from Afghanistan and somewhere Saudi Arabia. Now there's also part of the conspiracy. I have to say this because I just brought this up, but one of these quote unquote hijackers, when the FBI had all their pictures, one is still living. Explain that. I'm not lying. One of the pictures they put out with this guy's name is still living somewhere over in the Middle East. Now, how can he be in a plane that hit? But that gets, like I said, I'll save this for another night. I could really go on for a couple hours on the conspiracy with the September 11th and the JFK assassination for sure. But yeah, that's some of the stuff I remember, what happened and where I was. And anyway, I'm sure that this coming up week after Labor Day, they'll probably have on the History Channel, A&E, Discovery Channel, those channels. History Channel is really good. They'll be re-airing some of these documentaries on September 10th and September 11th. They always do each year, re-air it. But it's like, wow, time just flies. I can't believe it's already 19 years since that day happened. Anyway, before I move on here, is anybody want to say anything about September 11th? Anything else or any questions they might have, or anything you want to say on that? No? I do want to, it's on my bucket list, but unfortunately with this COVID-19 outbreak, we have problems here in America where you travel to one state, you might have to quarantine for a while if you're from here, if you're from another state. But I do want to see the 9/11 Memorial Museum in Manhattan. Christina Vlog, she's in New York City. I think I might have asked you that once before, Tina, if you've been to the 9/11 Memorial, because that's one place I do want to go see. I watched a show on the 9/11 Museum, the September 11th, 2001 Museum, and then they built the new World Trade Center, I believe it's called, and they got one of the original fire engines that were at ground zero, meaning that's where the Trade Center was, and it shows it just how crushed and smashed up it got, from those buildings falling, and a lot of memorabilia. And then they have the video screens up of the people that were inside the building, inside the Trade Center building that got out, as well as interviews of these firefighters and police officers and EMTs that were, right there on the scene when the Trade Center building got hit. But yeah, that's something that before I die, I will make a trip out to New York City, and I want to see that 9/11 Memorials Museum. I think that they did a lot of justice by it. I only saw part of it, in some documentaries, but I definitely want to go out there and see that 9/11 Memorial Museum. And put my papers here. Put them over here. And we'll do some general conversation. Let me see. Oh, C Vlogs, Christina Vlog, Tina. I'm gonna just make a note here. Okay, I will be doing a tribute video tomorrow for everybody who shows up for my live for the Labor Day. Yes, I will. For Sunday, I will get the tribute video going. So I'm making a note here. If you're on my live, you're going in the tribute video. Life of Naya, if you're still here, I will check out that shout out video you did. So everybody here, you will be in a tribute video tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon or evening. I'll get time. It usually takes about an hour or so, and gather everything up, and then I'll get you in the videos. The tribute, not videos, but the tribute video. I will do a tribute video. I have fun doing it, and it's my way of saying, like I say again, I want to say thank you to everybody for being in here and put you in that tribute video. Show my appreciation, as well as it helps get some exposure for your channel as well. But yeah, if you're on the live, I will put you in the tribute video for sure. No problem whatsoever. Oh, that's something else to talk about. I mentioned it briefly when I started my show. If you didn't see it, earlier today about 1 o'clock, I filmed the video grilling spare ribs. And I show the way how I grill spare ribs, baby back ribs or full back ribs. I got some baby back ribs at the grocery store near me, or Myers, earlier today. I was out about 11:30, 12 p.m. and I picked up a nice rack of ribs. And then it was around, I don't know, 2 o'clock or 1:30. And anyway, I did a video and showed everybody how I do my I grill spare ribs. And anyway, I'll talk about it here. If you haven't seen it, check it out when you get time. I think you're going to like it. But a trick I learned from a friend of mine years back is once the spare ribs are thawed out, I'll put them in a tin tray, and you soak them in beer. And like I say, you'll see in the video, I had bought 340 ounces of Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's a cheap beer. You don't have to buy expensive beer. You can get Busch, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Milwaukee's Best, Old Milwaukee. Just get some cheap beer, and you let those ribs soak in it. And the beer tenderizes that pork, as well as a lot of the stuff on the pork. It comes off, that beer just does something that comes off, and it puts a nice flavor in the meat. So I let the pork pre-soak, and pork's got to be thawed out. I let it pre-soak for 15 minutes to a half hour in beer. And then when it's done pre-soaking, I fired up the grill, and I like to grill at a temperature around 450 to 500. So anyway, yeah, I pre-soak them in beer, put them on the grill, and then I usually grill them on about 500 or so, and as I rotate them for about 20 to 25 minutes, they'll be ready. And I use there's a number of barbecue sauces out there, but when I take them off the grill, I got another tin tray, and I put them in there with the barbecue sauce, and I was using a Famous Days. That's one that I like. Famous Days barbecue sauce. A couple other good ones is Casey Masterpiece and that Sweet Baby Ray's. They make some different and really good barbecue sauces. So anyway, if you watch the video, I think it's about 12 minutes. But I show you how I grill spare ribs. And if you do it, you do it my way, I think you're really going to like it. I've been doing it that way for years. Let me get a sip of my Snapple here. I got 3 people left. Before I wrap it up, is there anything anybody wanted to would like to talk about, or any questions you might have for me? Because we already went through the topics and stuff for my late night show, and I like to make it about us, not just me, but us. So if anybody has a question or anything they like to say, this is more like general talk, general conversation time here. If not, I'll wrap this up here shortly in just a couple minutes. No? Okay. What are you? Oh, as I always like to say in all my lives, if any of you guys have got a question or something you'd like to tell me in private where you don't want it in my live chat or put it in the comment box, you could reach out to me. Yes, you can. Just send me an email. It's on my YouTube channel. Click on the About tab, and I'll even give it away now on my live. It is infospot411 at yahoo.com. So infospot411 all together at yahoo.com. You can send me an email if you got a question, a concern, anything you want to tell me, talk in private. Oh, by the way, I always forget to say this too. My channel is infospot411, but my name is Ed. So if you send me an email, you can just, say, hey, Ed, I have a question, or Ed, I'd like to tell you something, whatever. But my name is Ed. So yes, that's my name. But if you want to call me InfoSpot, that's fine as well. So yeah, you can reach out to me at my email address, infospot411 at yahoo.com. As well as I have it in my About tab on my channel. Check out my grilling spare ribs video if you can. I did it for Labor Day weekend and wanted to get this out quick because I know Labor Day weekends like 4th of July, Memorial Day is one of those great 3-day, the holiday weekends we have. And it's a perfect time. It's just one of the summer holidays to get out in the backyard and do some grilling. And I'm going to help you, man, if you want to do some spare ribs. You know it. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on my live. And for everybody watching this, I get a lot of people, too, that I've seen that'll come in and watch my lives. As I say in a lot of my videos, I want to say here before I wrap this up. First, I'd like to thank all my subscribers. And I want to say a big appreciation to everybody watching my videos and my live broadcast and dropping those likes and comments. You're awesome, man. With that being said, I'd like to say this because I mean it. And I say it in just about all my videos and my lives. Stay safe and enjoy life, everybody.